大家好，我是美国死亡金属乐团 Ripped to Shreds 的李应德，今天要带大家认识5个你一定要知道的台湾死亡金属 Riff。第一个登场的就是大家最爱的闪灵，他们在摇滚乐界称霸超过20年了，基本上就是台湾的 Metallica。这段 riff 是来自他们的专辑 Takao。先跟大家说一声拍摄，我的台语不好。I'm just kidding. I'm not really going to do the whole video in Mandarin. This riff from Takao is very reminiscent of late 2000 Finnish folk metal bands like Ensiferum or Winter Sun. I like how the descending harmonic minor legato runs are used as a transition between chords. The song is from a concept album about Takasago volunteers. The history of Taiwan is pretty complex. It was inhabited by Austronesian Aboriginals for thousands of years before it was colonized by Han Chinese in the 17th century. In 1895, Imperial Japan seized the island from Qing Dynasty China before it was returned to the Republic of China at the end of World War II. Takasago volunteers were Aboriginals who volunteered to fight for the Imperial Japanese Army against the Allies in Southeast Asia. Once the ROC instituted martial law in Taiwan, both Aboriginals and ethnic Han who served in any capacity with the IJA were considered traitors or pariahs, while the Japanese government viewed them as embarrassments and abandoned them wherever they were posted in Southeast Asia rather than repatriating them back to Taiwan or Japan. Brain Corrosion is, in my opinion, the most important grindcore band in Taiwan, period. Headed by bassist and vocalist Sleazy Derek, who also runs Rotten Piosis Records and plays drums in gore grind band Mixoma. They've been active since 2007. I owe Derek a lot, and Ripped to Shreds did a split with them called Exhumed from Eastern Tombs. This is Mondo Ivo's Blood, which is a tribute to Ivo from Morgue Breath. Something Brain Corrosion does amazingly is groove. In the original version of the song, Apang puts a swing feel into the kick groove that comes in around the 50-second mark, which is something I basically never hear in grind. The main blast riff is built off a crusty A minor tremolo with a Slayer-style tag on the turnaround. I think good grind riffs need to be crusty and punky. You can have metallic riffs, and you do need like a certain percentage of them for a good grind song, but I think the majority has to be crusty. Another mainstay in the Taiwanese DIY metal punk scene is Spike. His South of Heaven demo from 2001 is one of the oldest Taiwanese black metal releases. He also did a one-man gore grind band called Rampancy since 2004 and played drums with Blackened Thrasher's Bazooka. However, I personally find his death crust band Necroabbot most compelling. This is Rise from Graves. It's an extremely straightforward D-beat riff, but it's like pizza. Sometimes the simplest things are the best. Any Taiwan list would be incomplete without a Larry Wang band. This is Maggot Colony, though honestly I'm not really sure how much writing Larry did for this band. I prefer this kind of blasting brutal death over slam, which is why I picked it. This is Lights of Blasphemy from their 2017 album Vile Reincarnation. This riff requires a pretty fast picking hand, but the riff itself is conceptually pretty simple. I caught Maggot Colony live in 2018, which is when I also first saw Brain Corrosion and Butcher ABC. That's how I discovered them. And this album, that's how I found out about Guangyang, who has done all the Ripped to Shreds cover arts since the second album. There aren't many Disgorge Mexico worship bands, but I think Fetus Slicer, especially on the 2015 album Metamorphoses of Sickness, does it wonderfully. It maintains that dirtiness and bassy, blown-out production that made Forensics so special. This is Psychodermatocell Excavation Exsanguinate. Salhin has been making music as Fetus Slicer since 2014 and recently is focusing on his death metal band Alhen, who is coming on tour with Ripped to Shreds in Japan in November. I can't really do vocals like he does for Fetus Slicer, so I just went for it with a pitch shifter. The other most prominent Mexigorge worship band is probably Viscera Infest, who obviously has a very different approach to their blast beats. I did like Verrucas Carcinoma a lot, but in my opinion their new album Teratoma is a little bit too clean and a little bit too much like Necroabbot. And it's not really like chaotic the way that Fetus Slicer is. And that's all for today. Let me know what your favorite Taiwanese bands are and what you're interested in hearing me cover next, as long as what you want to hear me cover is more gore grind.